Every year, our school would organize a 4-day trip for senior students and teachers. This time, we traveled to the mountains, where rivers and waterfalls awaited us. With 40 students and a handful of teachers, we prepared for an adventure in the heart of nature. The plan included exploring ancient bungalows, waterfalls, and observing the rural landscape. We rented out accommodation houses, and some nights, we even stayed in school monasteries. It was a trip designed to bring us closer to nature and history. On our first day, we reached a beautiful waterfall in the middle of a jungle. The sound of rushing water echoed as we set up tents, cooked meals, and sang songs around a small fire. The peace of the wilderness surrounded us, and the serenity of the place felt like a warm welcome. That night, the stars blanketed the sky, and we slept under them. In our tents, the sounds of nature lulled us to sleep. Little did we know that this peace would soon be disrupted by something far more unsettling. The next day, we visited an ancient bungalow over 700 years old. It was built from black stone, standing proudly as a relic of the past. The air around it felt heavier, the kind of weight that comes with centuries of history. It felt strange to stand in a place that had witnessed generations. We marveled at its structure but couldn't shake off the sense of mystery surrounding it. That night, however, we stayed in a more modern house, donated by a wealthy family in the village, unaware of the eerie events waiting for us. As evening approached, my friends and I entered our room in the house. There were 5 of us, and the rural surroundings made the night colder and quieter than we were used to. One by one, my friends fell asleep, but I remained awake, playing on my phone. The stillness was unsettling, but I ignored it, focusing on my game. Suddenly, I saw the door creak open, but no one came in. I squinted into the darkness, searching for movement. Seeing nothing, I brushed it off and went back to my phone. After a while, I heard a distant scream, followed by a thud outside our room. I froze, trying to listen more closely, but all was silent again. My friends slept soundly, completely unaware of the sounds. I wanted to wake them, but convinced myself it was nothing. As I tried to sleep, I felt a growing sense of unease. The silence was thick, and I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was wrong. Soon, the real terror began when one of my friends, sleeping in the corner, started struggling violently in his sleep. I watched in horror as my friend seemed to wrestle with an unseen force. He gasped for air, his legs twisting unnaturally, as though something was suffocating him. His body jerked violently, and it looked like a heavy weight was pressing down on his chest. Suddenly he whispered, "It's sitting on my chest, pressing my neck." I tried to shout, but no sound came out. Desperate, I reached out to the friend sleeping next to me, but he didn't respond. My panic rose. I had to do something. With all the strength I could muster, I finally managed to shake myself free of the paralysis. I jumped up, turned on the light, and rushed to my friend. His face was pale, his breath shallow. I grabbed his arm, shaking him awake. Slowly he sat up, his eyes wide with fear. I handed him a glass of water, which he drank hastily, still trembling. "What happened?" I asked, my voice barely steady. He looked at me as though he had just escaped something terrible. "There was something," he said, "a ghostly hand, squeezing my neck. I couldn't breathe." I woke the others, and we sat together, our hearts pounding as we tried to make sense of what had happened. The night was far from over. As we sat there, trying to calm down, a soft knocking sound came from outside the room, followed by what sounded like crying. We huddled closer together, too scared to move. The room felt colder, as though something unseen was watching us. We stayed like that until dawn, none of us daring to speak much, waiting for the light to break the spell of the night. When morning finally arrived, we wasted no time in leaving the house. But the fear lingered, and we knew we needed answers. The next morning, we approached the old man who managed the bungalow, hoping he could explain what had happened. "Did you hear anything strange last night?" we asked. He smiled knowingly, his wrinkled face betraying a hidden story. "No one else heard a thing," he said, "but you stayed in that room, didn't you?" We nodded. "You should be thankful you made it through the night," he added cryptically. It wasn't the reassurance we were hoping for. We asked him about the ghostly figure, but he simply smiled. Later, we learned that the bungalow we stayed in had a dark history. It was said to be haunted by a spirit that wandered the rooms, especially targeting those who dared sleep in the room we had chosen. The story went back generations, but no one had been able to explain the presence fully. We left the village soon after, but the memory of that night never left us. To this day, I remember my friend's face as he struggled to breathe, and the cold fear that gripped us all. Some places, it seems, never forget their past. I hope you enjoy this story. Please subscribe, like, and share. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again with more stories.